Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Live with Laura. I'm live streaming also to a few platforms, so I just wanted to make sure that you can see me and you can hear me. So I think we're good. All right, so let me just turn on a few more things.
Hello,
So
everyone.
from
Welcome,
behind the
welcome. Welcome
scenes,
to Live with Laura.
oh, there we
I'm
go.
live streaming also to a few platforms.
All right, let's see here. So one of the challenges when you live stream through few platforms, I don't know if you heard that, but you're hearing like that echo from it connecting to live stream. So I'm always talking about the behind the scenes live with Laura. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of the logistics for those of you that are business entrepreneurs, holistic entrepreneurs that are wanting to get online to launch your business online or to continue to build your business online. Having live streaming platforms is great. There are so many great tools that can do that with you. So that's just something that I'll be sharing with my private members. All right, folks. So we're into the new year, and so I want to do things very differently this year. And I'm always thinking outside the box. And for my members, you know that your commitment is to think outside the box. So for those of you that are new, if you decide to listen to this Live with Laura experience, please know that you're also committing to think outside the box and that you do you. You decide what tools you may hear from me that I might be discussing that may resonate with you. And other ones you might say, let me put it in my toolbox and I'll take it out later and put it in my tool belt. Or you may say, I don't want any of them. For those of you that are holistically minded and are willing to think outside the box, welcome, welcome. I love when like-minded people come together. So this is an experience. And what does an experience means? It means that you're part of this. It's not just Laura talking. I want the interactions. So I am live streaming to a few platforms. So please feel free to comment below as I'm going through some of the things that I'm going to be discussing today. So this year is landing a little differently for me, and I always try to listen to those divine downloads that I get, where I get a download and I just go into a flowed state of, well, this makes a lot more sense, or I listen to it. Many times it will repeat and I'll hear that message more than once. And when I know that I'm hearing it more than once, I know that I need to listen. Otherwise, it gets louder and louder to the point where I really cannot ignore it. And so for this year in particular, intuitively, physically, mentally, spiritually, I felt I wanted to do this new year differently. In my number one best-selling book, Healthy Business, Healthy You Toolbox, as well as the companion that goes with the book, and you can also read the book and take action, or you can use my number one best-selling planner, which is the Action Attraction Planner, as a complementary tool for my book as you read and take action, or you can use it independently. Many people all over the globe use my Action Traction Planner. Practitioners use my planner, and my clients in Success School, both for wellness and for business, use my planner with great success. I created this planner for me because I couldn't find a planner out there that did what I needed it to do. And so every time I would go into the stores looking for a planner for a busy mompreneur, juggling lots of balls, it just was laughable, the way the planners were designed. And because I think outside the box and I've been a pioneer in even working from home, running my own business from home, back when that was not the norm, I needed to have a planner that worked with me. So, with regards to my planner, I also made it undated. And that allows you to start your new year when you want to versus being forced into, that whole square peg, round hole thing. And I always say, let's think outside the box on this. For example, if we're to time date stamp this conversation, we're in the brand new year of January. Many times, moms, especially mompreneurs, uh, may have kids home from school on their winter break, may have college kids home on their winter break. So their new year, where they roll up their sleeves and they get into their business, doesn't necessarily start on January 1st. It may start January 9th, mid-month, because the kids are still at home. They're not back into a routine. They may be traveling, maybe homeschooling their children and decide, you know what, we don't have the restrictions where we have to rush back after the holidays. And maybe they have an extended vacation, so they may not be back into their routine. The beauty of a laptop lifestyle entrepreneur is they can work from anywhere and, be able to travel and not be restricted to a typical calendar, especially a school calendar or a work calendar. So with that being said, this year was landing very differently, not just from a what does Laura normally do, which was normally like, okay, let's work on our visioning experiences. Let's map out, do the different maps for the year. And I do vision boards very differently as well. No surprise. I talk about it in my #1 selling book, Healthy Business, Healthy You Toolbox. I talk about it in my programs. I talk about it all the time, and we work within it in my programs and in my Success School memberships, whether it's for health, life, business. My authors also use the planner. And so, with regards to the visioning experience, I said, I do not want to be envisioning yet. I need to declutter and organize. And I felt like I needed to do this big purge of content that I've had in my offices for decades. And so, although even though I moved into my other office in my home, I still was going back and forth between my old office room and my new office room. And I felt like I was playing Tetris. So those of you that are young enough to remember Tetris, it's like you're constantly putting the little squares into the spaces. And so when my boys would come over because they were coming back from college, or when they moved out and got their own place and then they'd come home, I was always playing like this Tetris, like moving stuff from room to room. And this year in particular, we've gone from a party of 4, which is with my sons, to now a party of 7, and I call it +1 dog. So we've got a party of 8 going on. So I'm trying to put a party of 8 into a home that really is a party of 4 from a logistics and bedrooms. So as I was taking things from different rooms and making, those 2 offices into bedrooms, I was like, I do not want to just shove stuff into other areas, into buckets, into whatever, and then afterwards having to dismantle that and figure out where things are. And I said, I need to touch things now. And so I was literally on a tight timeline, a tight deadline, and success loves speed. So that's the first bing, bing, bing. Like those of you that have part of Success School or anything that I've ever done over 3 decades, when I go bing, 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 it's like, it's like that neon sign that says, pay attention, write this down. If you're driving, please keep driving and write it down when you get to your location. But write this down. Success loves speed. And so for me, having a deadline accelerated this success path. And I was like, oh, this is making me do things faster. Now, faster isn't always better, but in this case, success loves speed. And so for me, it was like, put it where it needs to go, file it where it needs to go in the filing cabinet, throw it out, shred it. And so I was going over, again, decades of my business life as a pioneer in virtual, back when virtual was not even a word that most people could identify the way that now folks understand. And it was a memory. It would be like, oh, I remember this, and it would flash a memory. Many of them were positive memories of my life as a business advisor and marketing mentor. Uh, and yet, some of them were like, oh, you know what? I really need to save this because I need to reflect on it, or I need to use it again. I need to pull it out of that area and use it, repurpose it because all of you can benefit. And then there were some moments which were flashbacks to some not so positive moments in my personal life, my health, or the health of my children. And that was sobering. And those are papers that I also need to go through because there's times and dates and stamps on time date stamps on them that are really helpful from trying to capture a health history of uh, my children that are now adults, and they're asking for their health history. So moms, if and dads, listen, dads, step up to this plate because it's no joke raising humans. And dads, you need to be hands on with that child. Do not let the mother-in-law and your own mother be like, no, 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 we'll take care of the baby and you do you. No, the dad needs to step in and step up and say, Mom, no, you can help with laundry, dishes. Mother-in-law, same thing. You guys can help with laundry, dishes, maybe cook, but we're taking care of the baby, so I get comfortable taking care of the baby. Too many times dads get pushed aside and the mom goes home, the mother-in-law goes home, and the dad's now faced with, I don't know what to do. And then the mom is like, well, why isn't he helping? And then it turns into challenges. So bing, 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 that's a mom, dad, parent tip. Get involved right at the inception, literally, so during the pregnancy, read, learn, watch videos. You've got this babysitter right now in womb. So you have more time on your hands, both you as a couple and you as individuals, to really learn true health and wellness to raise your child. I am working on that book that I wish I got at the hospital when we had our children, that I was like, well, they're not giving me an owner's manual? They're not giving me a book. So I'm in the process of writing that book. But in the meantime, I'm going to be giving you nuggets of things that really made a huge difference. Some of it was intentional. Some of it, my husband and I were intentional. And some of it was like, oh, that really worked. And that one tip that I just gave you really worked. Having our parents, including our dads, help in other ways when the baby came home versus them taking over and not giving my husband the ability to get comfortable around the baby. Now, me, I was an au pair since I was, I think, 11. So I was a very young person helping be an au pair, a nanny, whatever you want to call it, to entrepreneurs that were running a business, and the wife was running the business as well. And so I would help raise the family, doing everything you can imagine from infant, all the way up. And other families would hire me, and I would continue to do this at a very young age. And I always was more mature in that space than my age reflected. So I was very comfortable around infants, changing diapers, knowing what to do, hearing the cry and knowing the difference in the cry. But my husband, even though he was the oldest, he has two younger siblings, but he needed a little more hands-on experience. So it got him right in the thick of it. Because I had cesarean section, it helped him know he had no choice but to help me because I literally couldn't get up and down very quick to get the baby so I could nurse the baby. So why do I bring that parent tip up? Because as you're doing life, as you're doing your business, as you're parenting, it's like it's juggling a lot of balls. If you maybe aren't an entrepreneur and you love just listening to my Live with Laura experiences, you love my books, my planner, programs, part of my communities for health and wellness, and you say, but I'm a business professional and that this resonates with me because, if I'm not at my job doesn't get done. So a lot of folks that are doing a corporate job still resonate with a lot of the tips and things that I share. So fast tracking this whole concept of undated planner, you can start when you want. Many of my moms tell me their new year starts in September when the kids go back to school. That's their new year, not January. In January, their new season starts when the kids go back to school. Some of my moms also homeschool or do a cottage version of the school where they hire a teacher to do a lot of the teachings and they supplement. So a lot of times that does not happen on January 1st. So if we keep trying to shove people in, that square peg, round hole energy, it doesn't work. And it's like, this is just not working. So for me this year, I was like, yeah, no, just because society may say it's January 1st and, let's race to, write out our New Year's resolution. Let's race to write out the word that we're going to have. Let's race to, create our vision board. I was like, no, not there. And so many of my clients resonated with this. They're like, yeah, no, I'm not there either. I want to purge. I want to declutter. I want to organize. So for us, we decided to co-create, because this is all of the Live Laura experience. And with my members, I said, well, I want this and you want this. Well, let's do this together. And so I created a 5-day experience where we were decluttering and organizing together but separate, and we were doing it virtually. So I'd jump on Zoom, everyone jump on Zoom, and they would be working in their spaces and I'd be working in my spaces. We'd have some music, we'd be talking. Even sometimes we'd be like, well, I need help in this category, or where do you think this should go? Or I'm redoing this room. What do you think looks good here? Or even remembering things. A lot of my clients were like, wow, this is something that it's jogging my memory from something that I went through in my personal life, in my business life, in my health. And I really need to blog about it, or I really need to podcast about it, or, I need to save this because I'm going to be teaching this as a class. And so by purging some of the stuff, they were able to find nuggets, treasures, if you will, in all of the clutter and, what we call shoving everything in the room and closing the door. So for me, that felt so much better. And it actually helped myself and it helped my clients to be like, okay, now I have room in my brain to now have expansive thinking. And so fast forward, we created a visioning experience, which paired, I should say, kind of like that, cheese and crackers that pair together, or the cheese with the apple, right? How it paired together. And we said, okay, this is now we're going to start the visioning. And it went very differently. And I'm going to open that up to my members, as well as I will be doing more of what I call play shop. It's like a workshop where you're going to be doing it with each other, with me, and we'll do a vision board very differently. But we're going to do a vision map so that we're mapping out what I call quadrants or modules. And then that way, if it's about your health, it's its own map. If it's your life, it's your own map. It's about your business, it's its own map. It's about your family, same thing, relationships. So that way it becomes a focus But guess what? If that now that goal is achieved, now you have a new space for another wish and goal. So it's like a billboard that has valuable landscape, but you have it in a map format instead of it's slapped on one big board. And then what do you do with the board afterwards? So, like I said, I do vision board work very differently, vision mapping very differently, with profound success for myself and my clients and my members. So, that's interesting to you. Definitely, you'll see a link below for you to be able to get information to be part of that experience. All right. So enough about that. That just kind of catches you up on where I am in my own headspace, where I am as I'm taking a pulse of that healthy business, healthy you. I always tell my clients, take a pulse. Where are we right now? What are you feeling in your business, in your health, in your life? What's going on? Let's figure that out, because if you try to push through things, it kind of sometimes can boomerang and bite you right in the ass, right? Just or suppressing it. You're just like all of a sudden, well, there it comes up. So for me, this feels so much better. And it's giving me less stress. It's like I'm not pushing, I'm not feeling the pressure. Like it's like that time right on the calendar. It's like, oh, I should be doing it this way because society says this, and oh, the date on the calendar says this. So a lot of times people will say to me the word, I feel behind. And in my success school, I tell my students, no one's ever behind. You're on your own journey and your own experience. So it's your journey, it's your experience. You're not behind. So I've always told them, delete that word from your vocabulary. You're never behind. And so, do you feel that difference? Just changing those words around, that this is your new year experience. This is your new season's experience that's on your timeline, on your journey, not on a calendar with a date that says you must do this here, right? I get it. Sometimes we have certain things that in life we have a calendar for, but I'm trying to give you more that expansive energy so that you can be more in flow. All right. So that's where we are with that. Um, Before I transition to the next piece, I just want to mention, what are you eating today? What are you putting in your cup today? For me, I have my Ninja Red and I filled it up with water. I'm trying to increase my water. So we're also doing a water infused challenge where you get to infuse your water with yummy things, whether it's like many of you are my peeps from Young Living. So you're putting in like your Young Living Vitality oil in there, or you're putting in your Ninja Red, or some of the powdered supplements like sulfurzyme is great this time of year. For I don't know about you, but I want to make sure my skin and my hair, my nails, my eyes, my organs are feeling the nourishment, especially if you live in a cold climate and you've got the heat on and you don't really want to be drying your body from the inside out. So I'm seeing a lot of folks that are what I'll use the word under the weather, and that has many meanings nowadays, but where you're not feeling well. And one of the biggest tips I can say to you all is be aware of what you're drinking. Okay. What is dehydrating you and what is truly hydrating you? Okay. Caffeinated beverage can be dehydrating. They can also be like you're peeing out your bones. I'm not going to get all into that right now, but just notice what you're drinking, your water intake. How much of it are you having? I like to add some of the sulfurzyme powder into my water because it's also adding additional benefits. I love adding my Ninja Red. It's a whole body nutritional liquid. It's nourishing all of my body systems. It's also helping me because I'm getting enough liquid in my body. My water intake is my lungs are not drying up. The hairs of my lungs are not getting dry, or they're not getting this gelatinous junk on them from the toxicity in the air. So, for example, burning candles, the wax from the candles, the petroleum, the parabens, even soy candles, that is a thick substance that gets in the air and you're breathing it in and getting it into your sinuses, which also, can be affected. It's also getting into your lungs. So over time, your lung hairs, your nasal hairs, right? They start to be like, hey, I can't filter out all of this because it's getting heavier and heavier from all this thick junk. Just as one example, toxic fragrance. The word fragrance can have 200 to 2,000 chemicals in it. So what we're having in our air matters, and especially in the winter when everything's closed up. The cleaning supplies that off gas off your floors and counters, so be aware of what types of toxin is off gassing into your home. Ditch it and switch to safer. I have an entire group of folks that are like-minded peeps that we love talking about how we've ditched this and switched to that. So if that interests you, same thing. I'll have the link below for you to learn more about that. Now's the time for us to link arms and be with like-minded peeps. So if you're craving being around like-minded peeps that are positive energy, forward thinkers, right? Like, what's the challenge? What's the solution? Instead of complaining or just being mean or bullying, or what you were seeing out on the big tech platforms and in the manipulative media, I call it. If you're sick and tired of that BS and want a nice haven to hang out in, trust me, these people are amazing, and I love doing life alongside them, whether it's working on my business projects, my health, my family, my life. Being around people that are raising your energy, raising your frequency is amazing. So finding your tribe, finding your people, what I call my peeps, it's amazing. All right, so one of the things that I'm looking at right now is my apple. I try to cut up an apple a day. You know that old expression, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? Well, another thing that can be really beneficial this time of year to help support your body's functioning better is not only eating an apple, but making sure the skin is on it. Okay, so this is an organic apple that I also washed with my Thieves Veggie Wash. I actually did a hack with my Veggie Wash, and I put a little capsule of it in one of my soap pump dispensers, whether I use my Thieves soap pump or maybe I've used my Luscious Lemon, which I absolutely love that smell. And I had an empty. So I was like, let me repurpose this. So I put a little bit of the Veggie Wash and I filled it up with water. And now I squirt a pump of it. So it's like it's like a foam. And I put it all around the apple. And that's the way I'm also washing the apple. But instead of having to soak it, because I'm trying to find things that's a hack, right? Faster. And also I'm saving money because now I'm using less of it. And I just use that foam around the apple and I rinse it and I'm good to go. So even though it's an organic apple, I want to rinse it because, it's been sitting either in the produce section of the store or it's been shipped. So I want to clean it off. Okay. So what I was doing the other day with a loved one and in my private podcast, I will talk more about my personal life. Still not there yet in the public as I used to be. before I became a grandmother. So this year I became a grandmother, and I thought I was a mama bear to my boys, and I never realized that I could be any more mama bear with my grandbaby. And it's like a switch that went off, and I'm like 1,000 times more mama bear protective of this little one than I thought was humanly possible. So I'm not there yet. I'm still, this is the Live with Laura experience, right? It's my experience, but you may be experiencing this too as a mom, as a dad, as a grandparent, or even as an auntie or an uncle, right? You may be like, oh my goodness, there's something that just unlocked, and I'm so protective of that little one. And that's how I feel. So I'm not there yet with the public, but I am telling you that I did become what I consider a pretty young grandmother, where I'm still able to run after the little one and, do things. So anyway, I digress. So as I'm going through this winter season and people are starting to get under the weather and having lung challenges and things, and I'm like, well, what did I do for my boys to help support their immune system, to help support their respiratory system? And when I came across one of the ones that I still use, I said, oh, you know what? How can we also get this into our food, which is quercetin? Okay, I'll put it in the show notes. So quercetin can be so beneficial. I use a liquid one, which is like a tincture. You squeeze the little top and you put it under the tongue. Sublingual is best. If you can get things liquid into the body, it's bypassing the gut, it's bypassing the digestive system. It's not a pill that has to go through the stomach, go through the intestines. Hopefully it goes through the lining of the wall of the intestines and it absorbs into your body and your bloodstream, right? You see how long that takes? I want something faster, easier, and where it's bypassing areas that may be compromised. If you have a compromised gut, you have a compromised intestines, a gut permeability, or there's a compromised digestive system that maybe not absorbing into your body all the nutrients that you're eating or the supplements you're taking, liquid is best, whether that's for a child or for an adult. So for me, the liquid tincture with my boys, I'd be like a birdie, and they'd open their mouth, and we'd put the tincture under their tongue, and it kind of has a citrus taste to it. But that was a great solution to ditch some of the toxic, harmful, over the counter meds that always act like a sledgehammer. So in my toolbox, I'm like, what can I switch to safer so my child wasn't having all these side effects and reactions to toxic over the counter meds? I also had to be very aware of the heart and say, well, can this drug affect the heart? So it also got me to think outside the box and say, well, what is available that does no harm that I could be giving my children? And so quercetin is one of the ones that I use. But then I was like, well, what food sources do you get quercetin? Now, mind you, a lot of times you need to do a lot of it in order for you to get the same amount as maybe the little tincture amount that you go, oh, wow, I have to do how many apples to get to that? But at least you're aware. So what in your diet could be supporting your respiratory system and your immune system? So write that down. What could you be implementing in your diet, in your meals, for your children, for you, that could support your immune system and your respiratory system? Those are the two that I want to talk about today. I did talk about our skin too, which is our integumentary system. But to keep things easy, let's think about that. So as I eat my apple, I'm seeing the skin. So in the corner of my eye, I've eaten almost all of my apple. But I want you to think of that. Like, how many times do you peel an apple, right? And you're like, oh, wow, I'm discarding some of the best part of the apple that could help support me. That apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? Let's be proactive instead of reactive. Let's not wait till we're under the weather or not feeling well for us to then go, what should I be doing? And that's my goal, to try to remember some of the things I did with my children when they were little, what I do as they were getting older and into the grown up years. And now, as a grandmother, I'm like, what could my grandbaby benefit from that could help the respiratory system and the immune system? So I've helped so many parents along the way as their mentor. And now it brings me great joy that I could think about my own grandbaby, right? Like, I've been helping so many families for decades to be health detectives, to figure out a success path for their families. Um, give them access to my toolbox and say, hey, these are some of the things I've used. Does anything resonate with you? And let them pick. So I hope this helps you, even as a parent or as a grandparent or aunt and uncle, to be like, oh my goodness, wow, yeah, this helps. Because here's the thing, moms and dads that have newborns or that young, baby toddler age, they're sleep deprived. They've got a lot on their plate. And then you add all the juggling balls of, day-to-day life, whether you work for somebody in a job or whether you're an entrepreneur. We're juggling a lot more balls than most. And being that house manager and then the caregiver to your child and then running a business or working for somebody, it's time consuming, and it's also, your brain can only handle so much. So if you're that great auntie or that uncle or that mom or dad or friend or grandma, grandpa that could actually help lend a hand and even say, well, this would be like so cool that I could make for my, you know, my kids, my daughter in love, my son, or your son in love and your daughter, right? Like, how cool could that be? Or providing a tool that you're like, oh, this tool helped this mommy. Maybe this tool will help you. Help fast track them so they get to skip the school of hard knocks. Because let me tell you, what I wish I knew as a new mom, even though I was an au pair and I had tons of hands-on experience with children, I still never learned some of the best wisdom that I wish other moms and dads could have given me in protecting my child's health and well-being. What I know now that I wished I knew then will be in my book series. It's just mind-blowing that what we are not taught, that really we need informed consent, especially when it comes to the health and well-being of our children. Okay, so Apple. Okay, that's another really cool, easy button, right? Apples. You say applesauce, right? No sugar added. So don't fall for the banana tailpipe with the sugar that's added or the high fructose, toxic GMO high fructose that's in so many things. So look at labels. If you're going to get applesauce that's unsweetened, and flip the label and make sure it's just apples. Pulverize your apple in like a NutriBullet. Give it to the children like that. What I used to also do is I would crack open a capsule of a probiotic and I would mix it in with the applesauce. And they would take that, and that's how they got their probiotic when they were, fairly little. And it also helped their microbiome in their gut, in their intestines. 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So it's an area that we really need to focus on, and it's not talked about. Like, instead of them bombarding us with all those toxic commercials, right? How about we have a true health and wellness commercial that is an educational commercial? How about we have more programming? You hear the word, what I just said about the television, the boob tube, as my grandfather used to call it. Let's have something that's educational that talks about true health and wellness. Let's talk about immune system, supporting your innate immune system that you were born with, right? We weren't born deficient and needing all these toxic chemicals added to our body, right? So when you really think about it, we need to do grassroots. So all of my practitioners, my holistic practitioners, my holistic minded entrepreneurs, my holistically minded wellness seekers, grassroots, pay it forward. If anything I say helps you, pay it forward. We need grassroots education to help people that are having children, that are raising families, that are now grown-ups, have tools that do no harm, whether it's a wisdom tool to what to put on the food table, or what I'm discussing, where I'm pairing that applesauce with a probiotic. That's an example of things that we're not taught in America the way that other countries do. The elders of the families are looked at with wisdom. What wisdom could I glean from my elders? In America, it's like, the elderly, right? It's a very negative connotation. Tap into the wisdom of those have gone before you, that have gone through the school of hard knocks. See what you can glean from them so that you're not getting hit over the head with the school of hard knocks. It's no bueno. It's no joke. I know for me personally, raising my children and then getting hit with a sledgehammer that medically maimed me as I'm trying to raise my boys with my husband. And my husband was doing a lot of business traveling. So many times I was the it parent. And here I am with the sledgehammer hit, medically maimed, trying to take care of my children, run a business, and function, and trying to figure out what's wrong with me and trying to find solutions. So the system has been broken for a very long time, but now lately a lot more people are realizing how broken the system is, and now we can ditch the broken system and literally move to a different way of thinking, okay? Totally glad to be out of the broken system, but that's a podcast for another day. But that's an example, folks, that you don't know what's happening behind closed door. In fact, some people that are watching or listening to my podcast today are like, oh my goodness, I had no idea, Laura. So a lot of times you may be seeing sizzle reels, or what I call sizzle reels in marketing, where you're seeing the highlight reels on the social media, where you're only seeing these, curated moments of someone's life, but you're not necessarily seeing what's happening behind closed doors. Now, years ago, when I started my podcast, I vowed to be real, raw, transparent with my listeners, with my members. So my members know my journey. They've benefited from my school of hard knocks, so they could skip some of those challenges. But now that I'm getting back into this relaunch of my podcast, I am picking what I'm sharing publicly and what I'm sharing in my private podcast. So if you want more, definitely make sure you're in my private podcast or join my membership, because that's where you get to really roll your sleeves up and have a lot more experiences that I work with my peeps. I'm like, what does everyone need? Intuitively, I'm always thinking, what do they need today? What do they need this week? What do they need this month? So that way it's not this hardcore curriculum where it's like so rigid. We go with what the needs are, what intuitively I'm feeling, the downloads that I get, and it works so that it's customized for the needs of my community. So I think I mentioned enough things right now in that respect. I am going to turn my diffuser on because that's another easy button. It acts also as a humidifier without the mold. Many times humidifiers will have mold spores in them, and you think you're doing justice to your family, and then you find out, oh shoot, there's mold spores in my humidifier. So no wonder why the respiratory system is having challenges. So I love the diffuser because A, I can clean it, and it's very simple. You know what's going in the reservoir, and you get to put supporting um, essential oils in it that benefit your respiratory system, benefit your immune system, benefit the air quality of your home, et cetera. But I'm not going to go into all the nitty gritties of all the oils that I use. Just know that there's respiratory oils, there's blends that are great for cognitive function, helps the brain. For the little ones in your life, the children in your life, they would benefit immensely from having the essential oil in the diffuser because it's also helping their brain develop, their brain function. When we breathe in an oil, it hits the olfactory system in the brain that then hits the limbic system. The limbic system then talks to all the other body systems. It's also the seat of your emotional center. So it can work within 20 seconds. So when you need that mom hack, you want it to work fast. I still have a mother of twins that yelled at me to say, Laura, I can't believe you never told me about the benefits of the essential oils and you didn't tell me about the one to help them sleep or the one to help them take a nap, or the one to make them chill, right? Like relax a little. They're like, I'm a mother of twins. Why didn't you tell me about that tool? So that's something that sticks in my memory. So I try to bring it up. So you as an adult too, helping you sleep better, helping you not be stressed out, bringing down the fight or flight receptors is so important. Helping with school concentration, homework. I know for my boys, even when they went away to college, I would get solicited with all these crappy, care packages that were full of toxic junk and sugar. And I'm thinking, how is that a success path for them as they're going through midterms? So I would send them wellness packages and giving them the edge over their peers because they were functioning at a higher mental level. They were able to stay focused longer. They were getting better sleep. They were getting nutrition in their cells. So even that makes a great care package. So if you have a college student in your life, send them a care package with a wellness package. It's something that's the gift that keeps on giving. All right, I could go on and on and on about this topic, but I'm going to put in a couple of oils. Thieves is one of my all-time favorites. So this particular one by Young Living, I'm going to put in here. And what's nice about Young Living is I don't need a lot of drops. A lot of times you'll see recipes for essential oils out there and they'll need so many drops. And I'm always like, wow, look at that. With Young Living's oils, they are the plant itself, right? They're not anything else. There's no toxic fillers in it. They're not, there's no alcohol solvents. When it's distilled, it's distilling at the right temperatures. It's a proprietary distillation that D. Gary Young created. He was the visionary, the pioneer in the essential oil, literal starting in the US movement. And so I've been very spoiled with, the OIL in the word spoiled by having the best of the best. And the level of testing that goes into the oils, hands down, I've been working in the industry for decades in the health and wellness industry. And I talk to other companies, whether it's a supplement or whether it's an essential oil, and I'll say, well, what is your level of testing? They're like, oh, we couldn't do that level of testing. That's cost prohibited. Where Young Living's passion and purpose that Gary has always strive for and marry is people over profits. And so ensuring the best of the best, because these essential oils are being used by their families, their pets, their horses, right? Like, so making sure it's the best of the best. So I'm very spoiled in the fact that I know what goes into this process within essential oils, into the farms. I have tons of education behind me where you're learning about it matters what's in the soil. It matters where that plant is grown. It matters how it's distilled. It matters that it's being bottled and shipped right to your home. There's no tampering like on Amazon. You have no idea what you're getting. So buying directly from my Young Living account, it's shipped to the door. I open the door and I have my tools. Helps me save time and money and mom brain cells, right? So I'm putting these in there. I'm gonna add a little bit of purification to it as well. This is also my mom hack with my boys when they would come home from practice and they'd have the stinkiest cleats or just the stinkorama, right? And so that's something. Or I would crush up some paper towels and put a little bit of that in and stick it in their cleats. Mom hack. My one son also played at a college level. When I tell you I thought I smelled everything from a sports locker room because I was in the locker room helping a lot and in the at the high school level, but in college, whew, it's even higher. So super helpful. So now another hack I did is I love my Ninja Red. I drink it every day, but I love these bottles. They're so pretty. So I filled this up with water, purified water, and I can keep this near my bedstand because I have dueling diffusers. I have one on my side of bed and I have one on my other side of my bed for my husband. And having this in the bedroom helps me not have to go back and forth with filling water and it lasts a while. So that's a fun hack. I'm also able to keep this here now for, filling it up with water. I also am doing my own water challenge. So I'll fill it up and this gives me 25.35 fluid ounces. So it gets me to drink more water because I'm seeing it. Many times I'll add my Ninja Red to it, to an empty bottle, right? I'll add some Ninja Red. I'll add my sulfur zyme. I might add like one of my citrus vitality oils. I love lime. It gives me a nosegasm. Love the smell of lime. I'll put a little bit of that in there. So infusing into your water something to get you to drink more. So that's a hack. Maybe you don't have one of these pretty bottles, but you want one. Or you say, you know what? I can do that right away. So take out a glass jug, a glass jar, because you don't want to mix your Young Living essential oils in with plastic. You always want it to be either glass or stainless steel. So I'm just going to use this and I fill it up to the line and then I can turn it on. So these are the hacks. So if you're in the office as an entrepreneur and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't drink anything, have this in your office, right? It also can be added to your diffuser, right? And then I'm just going to turn it on. And then this particular one, I've got my lights. I've got either it can be on intermittently. Sometimes at night I'll put it on intermittent so it goes all the way through the night. All the different colors. So depending upon my mood, I'll be like, what do I want, right? What kind of mood am I in the mood to look at? And, even if it's a form of color therapy, I'm going to put it on purple right now. So color therapy, I also have another tool that I have glasses that I can wear. So when I get scanned and I scan myself, I know what color glasses to wear for helping my vital force function better. So I have a plethora of different tools that I'll be pulling out of my toolbox, putting it in my tool belt, and you'll get to experience it side by side with me. And many of you may already have some of these tools and be like, yes, that's one of my favorites. So I want to hear back from you. I want to hear your interaction so that we can have this experience together. All right, the last tool that I'm going to bring up, I have a whole series that I do on just beneficial solutions that do no harm for your body to function well. And then if you are starting to feel under the weather, what you can do right away to help support the body as it's literally trying to get rid of the toxins. So a lot of people fear being under the weather. Once you're educated and understand what the body's doing, it's trying to just alleviate some of the toxins that are in the body. Maybe they've bioaccumulated. Maybe you've, been exposed to certain things over time. There's you were exposed immediately. Maybe there was a transmission on you. Whatever it is, maybe the exposure also of 5G. There's so many things, right? As a health detective, you're like, well, why am I under the weather? Well, what has been going on? Or maybe because we've been having the seasons and the months where we start in October, and I have a whole class on this, boo, boo for Halloween, right? Like, boo, no, boo to the candy, because now you got candy season. If you eat sugar, meaning the candy, the processed sugar version, you're paralyzing, you're putting a wrench in the way that your bloodstream works, the way your immune system functions, the way your white cells, your red cells function, and you are causing them not to perform in a way that can get rid of the junk. So you're, in a sense, it's like paralyzing them. It's putting a ball and chain around their leg and not letting them function optimally for a minimum of 5 hours. Now you add some bad bacteria in there, which loves sugar. And the next thing you know, well, why is my kid sick? Why am I sick? What's going on? Then you add pie season for Thanksgiving and all the things that come with us overindulging in that Thanksgiving month. Then we've got the Christmas month with the overindulging and the candies and the cookies and right of all that and the wines and the punches and the alcohol and you name it, right? And then we wonder, oh, wait, alcohol season for New Year's Eve. And then we wonder why the heck so many people are under the weather in January. That alone could be your health detective. Like, what the heck? Why am I sick now? Well, what has been happening? What has been bioaccumulating? What have you been doing to either help or hinder? We'll get into that another date if you want the replay of the class that I did on, that I do for always in October, so like getting moms, dads, parents, families aware of how to support the immune system in the month of October and then through the winter months. I have the replay to that. All right, so the last tool is, right, so first I love these clear bins. Got a little snap on it on either side, so it's easy to open, but it stays nice and secure. And it is a really cool way to help support your respiratory system when you're under the weather. And I highly recommend it. It doesn't have to be this brand, but the concept is it's a nebulizer. So I'm just going to pull it out real quick. I'm not going to do a whole entire class about it, but just know that you've got this connected to your base, okay? So that the air is going through here. And then you have two different versions. So the base is great if you replace it with the hoses and these attachments. What's nice is you could change up your attachments. So maybe you say, oh, I like the one that Laura has better. Can I change it without having to buy a whole new nebulizer? And the answer is yes. Okay, so this is the one I really like. It's easier. This one, a lot of times, is the one that you'll find that comes with it. This particular one, you unscrew easily. Here we go. You click it and unscrew it. Let's see. Again, this is why I don't care for this one, because if I'm trying to get my mixture in, right, and even putting it back on, it's pretty easy from a twist and whatever, but as you can see, I need to have it upright. It does go flat, and then I can pour the liquid combination in here, connect it, and then it becomes a breathing, okay, it becomes a breathing, and it usually has the little mouthpiece on it, and you breathe it in, hold, and then it, it helps the lungs. It also can help the sinuses. And this is a great tool to have in every home. So having a nebulizer in your home, so you're not having to race to, a facility to get a nebulizing treatment. Have one in your house, because whether you're under the weather due to the weather and the air quality of your area, maybe you've been dealing with heavy metals in your air, or maybe you're dealing with forest fires or pollutants or toxic pollutants from a factory. Who knows what's going on in your area, but having one, or maybe your child starts to get under the weather. Well, doing these quickly can mitigate. And before you know it, you're like, wow, that was quick. Okay, so the lungs, how do we get into the lobes of the lungs? It's a great solution. So that's a nebulizing solution. This particular one has a little lid, and then you just pour it in here, and now you connect it and you're good to go, right? So that's an example of the other kind, and you just breathe it in and then pour with the nose. Super easy. Kids usually will do it once they understand it. Make it fun, make them part of the process. So a nebulizer. I love having this in the house. It empowers me as a parent. It empowers me as a person, because I was like, you know what? During lockdown, I was like, this was one of the things that should have been educated by every human on the planet. But instead, it's like saying, when your lips turn blue, come back to the hospital. And again, I usually cuss at this point in the juncture of lockdown. But that's an example of something that I was saying to people all the time from 2020 to current. And I don't understand why so many people still don't have them in their home after they've been educated about it. For those that never heard of this before, this is your first time to the rodeo, get one. Trust me, it's a great investment to have in your health hub in your home. This is a great wellness tool that goes in your wellness toolbox, right? It's accessible day or night. What happens? I don't know about you, but many of my mom clients, many of my families, myself included, always in the middle of the night. The kid always is waking up with that croupy feeling or the congestion or throwing up, right? The throw up monsters always show up in the middle of the night. So having these tools available for you and your loved ones can make a huge difference in the quality of life for your children and for yourself. Don't wait till it gets to the point where you're like, whoa, wrong. Let's be proactive, not reactive. So when you know better, you do better. And when you do better and you know better, pay it forward. So if I'm saying anything that resonates with you, pay it forward. Share this link, share this content, let other people know, because if more people are educated and learn about solutions that do no harm, they're not in panic mode. The pineal gland of their brain doesn't get how do I say, where the brain says fear, and then they don't know what to do. They go into fight or flight, or the calcification of their pineal gland due to toxins over time. They can't think straight. Let's help them out so that they get out of fight, flight, or freeze, and then think, oh, wait, the only way to get better is for me to take a product that has side effects, that does harm. When I do risk assessments for myself and for my loved ones, I say, what can I do that has no risk, the least amount of risk, with the maximum benefit? What can do no harm that works in harmony with my body, that isn't hurting my body in any way? So for me, my own risk assessment is how I measure what I'm going to do for my own health and wellness and my loved ones. But you do you. This is for you to decide. You may be going through the school of hard knocks and have to learn through pain and suffering, or you might want to skip that step and say, nope, I don't want to go through pain and suffering. What was that? Risk assessment, health detective, look at labels, read, go deeper, get off the Google, because Google suppresses probably 70% of true health and wellness, holistic health and wellness. Use other browsers. You're going to have a very different experience. Because I was also in tech and a woman in tech for the beginning of the internet, I've seen it all. I've seen almost every single possible thing there is. And you can end up with a bias. So your search engine starts to learn your biases, and it keeps showing you more of the same stuff. And you think, well, it's not on the internet. I can't find it. That can't be true. I don't see it on the interweb. It's because your search has been conditioned to remember your search in a way, and it becomes a bias. Getting onto a different browser can be helpful, but also your searching words can change and make it better for you, but definitely not on the Google. I find on other browsers, you're better off. They're not all perfect by no means. I prefer Brave is one of them, that at least I get a different search result and I get things that are not suppressed. When I'm looking at folks saying AI is just new, AI is not new. AI is a minimum of 15 years old, but the public is now learning about it. So there also is other advanced AI tools that can also do searches for content when we put in the right prompts. So I also teach my Success School students, whether it's in wellness or business, how to use and harness AI tools in a way that could be beneficial to you and your family, to you and your business, that can work with you, not against you. So those are the tools. I know I covered a lot of tools today, including this last tip, which is bing, 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 switch your browser, maybe go to the library, start getting books in your home library that are print, so that if those books that are digital become taken down. I've got some books that I spent a lot of money on that I downloaded on Kindle that have been wiped off digital footprint and I can't access them. So having a physical library in your home with physical books can be so helpful when you need to search for holistic solutions that do no harm. So having a plethora of resources for you, but think of your family library as a legacy tool so that you can give it to generations to come. People mocked encyclopedias that families would have, but I would have loved to save our families' encyclopedias, because I bet you there's a lot of things in there that people are like, well, that's not on the interweb anymore, and that's in the library. Same thing for our medical books. After a certain year, I'm not going to say the year now because I want to make sure I'm accurate, but they stopped writing about certain things that were so beneficial, that went deep and detailed. So if you are a practitioner, make sure you don't throw out those physical books. Give them to someone else to benefit. Pay it forward if you're retired and you want to get rid of them. Give them to somebody else that wants to be holistically minded practitioner so that they have some of those resources to help prove your point. Whereas this is an example of better ways to look at things and get to the root cause of the situation. All right, I covered a lot. I hope this was helpful. If you want more information, look at the show notes. You go to livewithlaura.com/podcast, and I'll have all the show notes listed there, as well as other ways that you can work with me, whether you want to schedule a success session, a one-on-one, or whether you want to be part of my private podcast, or whether you want to be part of my memberships, whether it's in health or whether it's in business. Those are the two categories that I have for the memberships that are open right now. I closed the doors. In fact, this is the first time I'm opening the doors in a very long time. So I don't open the doors very often. Once the doors are closed, I don't usually reopen them. And that's not hype. That's not marketing. That's literally what's happened. When I look at when the last time I opened the doors was 4 years ago. So that just shows you how once I'm with my peeps, I stay with my peeps. We stay laser focused. We're in this haven. We co-create, we co-support each other. We do energy exchanges, whether it's in health categories, life categories, or business categories. I do also offer what I call experiences live with Laura. Well, I'll do like a 5-day experience or 7-day experience, or I'll do virtual retreats or in-person retreats from time to time. But a lot of things usually I talk about inside my memberships, inside my private podcast. So if you don't want to miss out, definitely make sure you're in my private podcast so that you get access to even some of my emails that I might send out. Or if you want it via texting, you can also subscribe via text, depending on how you prefer to be in the know of things that might be coming up, or the Laura goodies and gifts that I do from time to time. There's also free events that I'll do as pop-ups. So again, hopefully that helps you know a little bit more about opportunities and ways that you can work with me. We can interact together, and you can have more success in your life, your health, your business, your parenthood journey. The last category that I don't open up just as just open, it literally requires conversations. It's more, I don't want to say an application, but I literally vet out my authors very intentionally, because I only work with nonfiction authors that are making a difference in the world. And usually when I work with my authors, it's kind of like a marriage, because I'm working with them over a much longer period of time. So I need to make sure they're in it to win it. They're in it for the long haul. They want to roll up their sleeves and get it done. And they're serious about their journey as an author. So that's another group of folks that I work with. And so many of you have worked with me as authors. And I'm happy to report that every single author I've ever worked with has become a #1 best-selling author, which is not a simple feat. And most of my authors just go, oh, well, #1. And they don't realize that this is not the norm, but it's because I've developed the secret sauce, the special ingredients to really help facilitate the author to have all those success, not only tools, but the rollout, the launch of their author journey. I also do launches for product development, for print on demand, for artists that want to get their artwork, or photographers that want to get their photos on print on demand things. So I also will help them with their launches. But it all goes back to Are they making a difference in the world? Are they holistically minded that their widget, I call it, because it's a product I call it a widget, because it doesn't matter whether it's a widget for a book or a product. Is that product making a difference? Is that helping people have better quality of life? Or is it just a fluff thing, right? So I used to do a lot of meetings in Manhattan with big CEOs, and it was Yawnsville to me. It wasn't like anything that was making a difference. And I was like, you know what? I vowed when I was going through my own health and wellness journey that I talk about in my #1 best-selling book, Healthy Business, Healthy You Toolbox, that I would be working with those that want to make a difference in the world. I want to work with holistically minded entrepreneurs, holistically minded practitioners, and my authorpreneurs that don't realize they're going to be an entrepreneur as they're working on the marketing side and selling their book. Well, they will be an entrepreneur, but I want to work with people that are making a difference in the world. And I want to leave legacy work, because the work that I do today, I want it so that it's pay it forward and it's legacy work. So for years to come, people will benefit from the work that I've done and the work that my holistically minded practitioners and entrepreneurs are doing will be legacy work long after they leave this earth and their earth suit. So that's my mission and vision. And I want to help millions, help millions, help millions. And the only way that I can do that is if we link arms, we join hands in. Together, we can make a bigger difference. So if every single entrepreneur that I'm working with is making a difference, is making a difference, is making a difference in the lives of others, that mission of me visualizing millions, helping millions for generations to come will be my legacy wish come true. So if you are excited and say, that's me, I want in, don't hesitate today to reach out, because like I said, I don't open up my doors to the group mentorship often. And this is something that I know that will help so many more people fast track their success for this quarter in the new year and for this entire year, and for, that it being the cornerstone as they're either building their business, launching their business, relaunching their business, or taking their business and their legacy work to the next level. I know that these can be cornerstone areas as they're working on their business, building and growing. So thanks again for the opportunity. And for those of you that stayed on for the length of this podcast, you're my peeps, because you love to learn. You love to be taking notes. You love to be taking action. You're usually my yellows, my helper healers, where you're like, well, I may not need this, but what does someone else need? And how can I pay this forward? And what did I learn? And what can I share with somebody else? Usually those are the ones that stay on for the entire experience. So thank you again for those of you that have done that. And then for those of you that maybe know somebody that doesn't have that full time to listen to the whole episode, I'll be giving summaries for those that are tight on time, for the busy moms and dads on the go, for the busy business owner on the go. So I'll have summaries that can help them, and having timestamps. So maybe they can spend 15-minute blitzes listening and learning. And then they go write down when they stopped listening to this episode. And then they have another 15 minutes that they can listen again. So don't just think, oh, it's too long of a podcast, I can't listen to it because I don't have this time. Think of it as action blitzes. You have 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, and you're good to go. So that's something I also teach in Success School, how to get her done when you only have smaller pockets of time. And believe it or not, those of you that have less time usually are more successful, because you have to work within tighter timelines, right? So like you heard me in the very beginning of my episode saying, success loves speed. And so for me, I had to get it done quicker. I had a deadline, right? I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to have people here, and it's not something I could have delayed. So sometimes when you have too much time on your hands, it becomes a delayed experience. So that was my last tip for today. So I'm Laura Cole-Gonzalez. It's my pleasure and honor for us to spend this time together having an experience. If you want more information, go to livewithlaura.com/podcast. That's livewithlaura.com/podcast. And for those of you that are entrepreneurs, did you hear how I said it again, and said it again? Many times people are listening on the go, and they may have heard your URL. May have heard your website, but they weren't in a place that they could write it down, or their ears didn't hear it the first time you said it. So always make sure you say your URL again so they have time to really write it down. That way they don't have to go searching through your whole video to find how they can connect with you. That is something I see constantly, especially on YouTube, where they have these beautiful channels and there's no way to get in touch with them. I don't see it in their show notes. I don't see it in their description. I don't see it in their about section. And I'm like, they're doing these beautiful episodes and there's no way that the person can take action and do business with you. So that was my last tip, and that one was a business tip. And if you're not a business owner and you're listening, tell your business owners, make sure that you have your URL, make sure you have your call to action on your platforms, and cross-marketing it. Get it on every single platform that you have on the internet so that you have cross-marketing integration with that URL. So I'm going to say it one more time. This is Laura Cole-Gonzalez, your host for my Live with Laura Experience podcast. And go to livewithlaura.com/podcast. Thanks again.